team.
You're waiting for them.
They're coming this way. But at the moment, we have with us Scott Clark, Catherine Seifert, and Emily Stevens, who tried this case. Hey. No. We're waiting for you. It's okay. It's okay. All right, thank you very much for your patience this afternoon. I am joined here today by the incredibly hardworking, dedicated members of the Cook County State's Attorney's Office who have worked diligently on this case over the last several years, bringing us to this moment in time. I have with us Scott Clark, who is the first supervisor within our office, Emily Stevens, Catherine Seifert, and Jill Thornton from our victim witness unit. This was a just in for an incredibly heartbreaking time for our city. The family of Ella French got a measure of justice today, but true justice would be Ella being with them today. The work and dedication of the Chicago Police Department to run into the face of danger, to be met by those armed and willing to take the life of one who is serving, is why we do our work here at the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. This family who has this measure of justice today is like so many other families who have been struck by the realities of gun violence in our communities. This sentence, a life sentence, is not a sentence that is given easily. As the judge said in her rulings, that there were choices that were made that brought us to this moment. There were choices that the defendant made on that evening that could have left a young woman alive, another officer uninjured, and people going home safely to their families. This ending, with a young man spending the rest of his life in prison, is what happens when one uses gun violence in the manner in which they did. I again want to thank our team for their diligence and their hard work over the last several years. And I also want to remind all of you that the work that they've done on this case mirrors the work that they do on cases that don't merit as many cameras every day. These are some of the best and hardworking lawyers, administrators, victim witness staff in the country, and I'm grateful that we were able to be of service to the French family. With that, I'll take your questions.
Madam State's Attorney, Emonte's mom came down and kind of laid this all at the feet of an improper traffic stop. She just pulled her son responsible at all. What do you say when body cam video, witness testimony, and a jury verdict produces a result that people still won't accept it?
As a parent, I can't imagine what it would be to, one, lose my child so horrifically to violence, or to know that my child was capable of such horrific violence. And whatever reality that she needs to convince herself in, a jury of his peers found him guilty, and this judge sentenced him to a just verdict. And so she'll have to live with that as a parent whose child has committed a horrific act. And I have another mother who is tonight living with the horrific act of her son.
Does this send a message? In the closing argument, you talked about that, it's not only a life sentence, it's 2 life sentences, it's the additional 57 years. To send a message. What kind of message do you think this sends to?
I don't know that there's a message to be. There's a life lost. I think sometimes we get so complacent with the fact that violence is a part of our everyday communities. We get complacent with the fact that we open the newspaper or turn on the news every day and we're talking about someone who was struck down. In this particular case, it was a 29-year-old woman who served and took an oath to protect the lives of others, who was shot down so callously. But today, at the end of the day, there'll be another murder. And tomorrow, someone will likely be sentenced to another life sentence for taking someone's life. This cycle of violence that has continued to plague our communities for my lifetime, the lessons I don't know have been taught. There's a lesson of accountability, that if you use a firearm to take the life of another, you will be held accountable. The lesson that was learned today is that that can lead to your incarceration for the rest of your natural life. And I don't know how many of these lessons we have to continue to tell. I don't know how many more lives we have to continue to lose to the graveyard or to the jailhouse. What I do know is that the men and women of the Cook County State's Attorney's Office stand ready to do their job to hold people accountable and bring justice to families.
You just addressed this, but Officer Yana has mentioned that he would love to hear from you and hear what you have to say in regards to somebody who went to the extent and took the life of an officer, injuring him. So what message do you have for Officer Yanes when it comes to making sure that people like Emonte stay behind bars, whether it's life with parole, life without parole, or if they are sentenced to?
Listen, it's the message that I have for all victims. No one deserves to have their loved one or to be someone who is struck down by violence. And whether you live and survive or whether you have to live with the wounds for the rest of your life, we have to hold people accountable. And I think there's this thing that we want to mix messages about what accountability looks like. When you take the life of another, there are consequences for that. And we have stood ready from the very first day that this case came into our office to hold those responsible accountable. We want a system that is fair and just, and one that is also credible in our administration of justice. This is a sentence that I don't think anyone outside of Mr. Morgan's mother would question is a just sentence here. So that's what I would say. What I would say is that we respond to violence that happens in our community to hold people accountable. What I would love to see more of is how we prevent incidents such as this, where people feel emboldened to go and take the life of another, whether you're a police officer or not. But the brashness to kill a police officer after a traffic stop results in a brash sentence, which is the rest of his life in jail. Thank you all. Did you? Anybody want to say anything? Thank you.